right, Abby Lynn. I'm excited that we're having this conversation because I'm not sure when this was because times is such an illusion. Pun totally
Yes.
intended. But you had texted me one morning and this message about time. And I thought, oh my God, that's so accurate. And, we look at these spiritual wars in many layers and many facets. And if we think about like just the 3D earth plane, one of the main wars we have on the 3D earth plane is something like over water rights or something like that. But there's something bigger at play with this because when we look at the spiritual war that we're all waking up to and realizing, oh, maybe it's not just so 3D. Time is a key element to that.
It is one of the key elements, and it's one of the things that is used to manipulate us to keep us in a loop.
All right, explain that a little bit. How can time manipulate us?
It gives the illusion that, well, okay, so first we have to go down to the root of what is the third dimension.
Okay.
And in the third dimension, we are ruled by this gravitational force, which makes us experience time in a linear fashion. And I always tell people, you know that time is an illusion because, Laura, a Monday can feel like it was 4 hours for you. A Monday for me can feel like it was 40 hours. And the mere fact that we can experience time in different ways proves that it is an illusion. It is something that is to be experienced and manipulated. And when you understand that the mind and the soul can govern time, I began to play with time there for a while. And I would request and say, I need these next 25 minutes to be experienced as though it were 2 hours. And it has worked every time I've done that. And, and I've used different scenarios for it because I needed to get a lot of work done, right? And I'm a chronic procrastinator, wait till the last minute all the time. So, and even in the morning, if I haven't slept great that evening, which is a lot of evenings, in the morning, it's 40 minutes, I'll wake up 40 minutes until my alarm, I will say to my higher self, I need these next 40 minutes to feel like I've slept for 5 hours. And that has also worked.
That is actually a really good tip for everybody listening out there.
Yeah.
We can manipulate time, but we have to manipulate time, I'm going to say judiciously.
Yeah.
I don't want to manipulate time to cause somebody to have a car accident, for example. But what you're talking about is I was not afforded proper sleep and I need to power through some things and I need help. And I do think that this is where our spiritual teams can really come into play to help us with this time manipulation. And we can learn to manipulate time to our benefit. Sometimes I call it stretching time. Sometimes I need time to stretch. And I remember when one of my daughters went up to the university, she would take the train back home on the weekends because it was just faster and easier. And she was always running late. And I would feel like I would have to stretch time to make sure we got to the train station on time so that she could make it. And I could get there. It was like a 40-minute trip, but I could get there in like 20, but I wasn't speeding. How does that work, right?
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. And to go back to, I didn't actually really answer your question a minute ago.
I didn't notice.
in terms of the looping, I have a dear friend in Arizona, and he loves to talk about the loopers. Right? Mm-hmm. So, and I know that you and I talk about the loopers, and that would be some of the souls that get trapped into this reincarnation looped, staying in, I don't want to say trapped, but you're grounded into this third dimension and you're just cycling through. You're stuck. And they need that for the loosh. They need that to power up their equipment. They need the soul spark. And I don't know why I'm getting this vision. I'm getting this vision right now, Laura. It's almost every time that a soul is like, nope, I'm going back down again. There's something about that action that actually creates something.
Yeah.
And I literally am seeing like this spark when the soul comes and anchors back down into here, and they use that as
it's a magnetic pull type of technology. When we're talking about I'm going to say we're talking about the dark forces.
Yeah.
The dark forces learned how to manipulate time, and they believe that they are superior than us. The reality is that we don't need them. They need us. They need our energy. They need our loosh. And when you talk about time and the looping and stuff, I view it as being on a roller coaster, but never being able to get off.
Yeah. Yes. And this goes even into the spiritual war aspect, right? So I sent you that text because for so long I was viewing this in regards to, oh, we're in the middle of a spiritual war. All of this has been a spiritual war. It's not about land or treaties or countries or planets. This is a spiritual war. And what came down so clearly is I had been thinking about the people that have been missing, passing lately. What are they all studying? They're understanding gravitational technology. Well, when you begin to go to a place where gravity is something that, one, you can manipulate, and number two, it's no longer governed by gravitational forces, then you start stepping outside of the time limitations, the linear time that we reside here. The movie Interstellar is a great movie to understand gravity, right?
Yeah.
And how time and years and decades go by, but you experience as 30 minutes. I mean, this isn't breaking new information, right? I think we've kind of understood this for a while.
But this is why a ghost energy. So we need time, space, and gravity to have the physical experiences to anchor us here on this earth plane. And we are assuming that, time is fixed, it's linear, it's those things. It's not. But a ghost energy, for those people who can see and sense ghosts, we know what epoch or era they existed in based upon their clothing. Mm-hmm. So they've left their physical body. You die. When you die and you don't cross over, go back to the higher realms or home, wherever your home may be, you're stuck in the stuff that you've died in. And so this is why people can say, oh, that ghost was from the 1800s, or this was a Roman gladiator, or this was this, or whatever. And they haven't fully exited that time matrix.
Correct.
And this is the looping, this is the loosh. And, this goes into also timelines, right? Mm-hmm. We have these experiences that were in this one timeline, but we fracture out into different timelines. I guess the question becomes that's kind of a heavy concept. And I think maybe we should just break it down a little bit.
Every time I've had these brief windows where understanding time, the clarity of that comes through so strongly, and it's always a feeling of like it overwhelms my body. I'm like, I understand it, I get it now, and again, complete clarity, and about 3 seconds later, boom, it's complete.
Yeah, you get anchored back into this time and point place, right?
It's wild.
It is, and I think a lot of us astral travel at night. And we hit different timelines. I've worked with clients who are here, but they have soul aspects that are in other timelines. And how, the question, and then this here part of the soul becomes weakened, fractured, right? And who's in control of this? It's usually not the human. Usually it's these other forces.
Yeah, I have had a client, Laura, where a other version in a different timeline of herself was utilizing in the astral and literally looshing energy off of her because her timeline, the other version of her, let's say, beta A and beta B, mm-hmm. Beta B didn't bring in enough energy to accomplish what she wanted in her timeline. So she was going into the astral and siphoning off energy off of beta A to help her get through beta B.
Wow.
And so my client was waking up every single morning exhausted, could not do life, and she could not pinpoint it anywhere. And that's why she booked the session, was like, what is going on?
What's going on?
It just came through. And so this is where we, and you talk so much about soul sovereignty. Yes, this is, even though it is an aspect of your higher self, it's still connected through soul, but your aspect that you are living still has soul sovereignty.
Right.
And they don't have a right to come in and, in siphon to where then you can't accomplish what you're needing to in beta A.
Yeah, it's a huge violation of spiritual law. And I think that when we understand how time can work, we take our power back, we take our control back. We can literally and play with time, practice it. Right? There's no prescribed way to do this. And I know people think, well, how do I do this? How do I stretch time? How do I, compress 5 hours worth of work into 2 hours? It takes practice. It's a spiritual practice. But when we can start mastering time, we take our power back because they can no longer attach to us and have happened what your client had happened, where they were siphoning off her energy.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And in regards to tie this together with the spiritual war, this is another aspect of why certain scrolls and mystery school teachings were removed from Holy Scripture in regards to understanding reincarnation, how the soul is eternal and the soul can have multiple experiences. And that was another way of showing, no, you have limited time. You only have this one lifetime. So you better,
better do it right by us.
You better do it right by us. Yeah, you better pray and ask for forgiveness and give us your monthly your tithings.
Yeah, or all your assets, right? I mean,
yeah, or all of your assets. Yes. Yeah.
Now, because I'm really excited about this, and I know we're not here to talk about this, but you and I are planning a group trip to Scotland to have these experiences. I am super excited about that. How do you feel like going to these sacred places where there were mystery schools, where there were ancient scrolls, or there was this ancient technology that got removed, when we hit the land aspect of it, our earth is living, breathing, and it has the memories of what once was. And when we go to a certain place, we can feel those activations and we can get this knowledge on a deeper level.
Yeah. I always say we are drawn to areas where we have had our DNA within our bodies, our lineages have experienced life there. And again, because we are governed by linear time in this 3D earth, when we are called or pulled toward an area, number one, trust the timing of that. So many people I've always wanted to go, but I finally heard the call and now was the right time to go. But when we physically go there, and our DNA in the flesh is interacting with all of the residual energy that is there, it becomes activated. And that word activation is used everywhere, but it's a remembrance.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because everybody and everything's being activated right now. What the heck does that mean, right?
Yeah, it's just memory. So when I use activation, all I am saying, it's another word for memory.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And somebody else can't activate you. They can put you into the right environment and get you into the right facilitator of frequency. So, I do frequency toning. I am merely the facilitator to hold that chamber, hold that space, to bring in the frequency. But you're the one who is activating that. You're the one who is choosing to turn that on, and where you place that and where that memory even goes. Maybe you're coming there for a healing, a release. Your soul needs to finally let go of something. Maybe you're going into an area because you have within your coding for this lifetime to remember teachings, to remember wisdom, and then to open up your voice and share that again.
Yeah.
It's so exciting going into these lands.
It is. And if people can't afford to go somewhere, there's other options, because we have these polls, like you said, to these other places and these other times. If something really, you look at how you decorate your house. Does it look like, the French Renaissance? I don't know. Right. How do you decorate your house? There's a sign, there's a clue there, right? And recently and I talked to you about it a little bit. I was in San Diego and I'm literally being told by guides, you have to go into a float tank. And I'm like, oh, that's random, right? And the pressure and the pull and the list, it was just so intense. I'm like, I need to go into a float tank. Okay. I've done it before, but they were very specific about it. I'm in this float tank and it's a sensory deprivation element, right? There's no light, there's no sound. You're in like so much Epsom salt that you're practically levitating. The layers of clearing and removing and all those elements that were going through my physical and soul body was insane. And every now and then I would feel this like panicky sense and release. It was crazy. So I'm bringing this out as an option for people who may not be able to go to where they want to go in a certain time. But again, time is an illusion. You will get there. But if you feel an immediate need, try something like that. Try walking in nature. Try literally meditating in a different fashion that is out of your norm, because what we're doing is when we're doing these elements, we're working in time. And I was in that float tank going back in time, back in like lifetimes, between lifetimes, not even on this earth plane, cleaning and clearing and removing. And I could see my spiritual DNA just getting like, I don't want to say rewritten, but healed. Mm-hmm. And when we go to these locations like that, like in Scotland or in Egypt, or even my home, I feel like honestly is the Mayan communities in the Yucatan and Mexico. We anchor ourselves in the ground and we can feel it. and it comes through to us. And people who say, well, I'm not sensitive, how do I know? You're still going to know. Your soul knows, your soul remembers. Give yourself that gift of grace and time to allow the energy to go through you, and don't be fixated and stuck in this is what I should be experiencing and not having that experience, because your experience could be completely different.
Yeah. And we're going the trip in Scotland, we are it's 2 weeks long, and it's all on the West Coast. Wanting to really get into the focus is that Avalon energy. We're going into the fairy pools, getting into that Fae energy, that soft Sophia, Sarah, Magdalene line, the ancient schools. And I don't know if this has come up for you a lot, Laura. I've seen it in a number of sessions how Scotland was actually I don't want to say the seed, but it was the ancient teachings were rooting there. People would do vast pilgrimage to go to Scotland to learn, and they would spend decades there. So it was an original placeholder of scrolls that were there. The Merlin energy too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Some people talk about Magdalene, but that Merlin energy, I just love. So yeah, it's really excited to get there. And again, with time, it was, we've been hearing for a while, it is time, it is time, it is time. And even astrologically, I, met with Mario, and I know that you work with Mario too, astrologist. And it all of these star alignments, it is time for the things that have remained hidden. They're all coming up to surface.
They really are. I was just watching a piece about how all of these things that used to be hidden, there's maps to them, right? There's a mapping element. And as things become uncovered, we are to observe and look at the patterns. Because as we look at the patterns and observe, we're looking through time, but we're also releasing what once was. And I think that is so key. It's the pinnacle of everything, right? Looking at patterns, understanding where we're at. And we don't have to know everything. We're all pieces of the puzzle, but we can come together in these communities and these groups, and we start talking with one another, working with one another. It's like 1 + 1 is 5 again, the way it should be, right? Time is accelerated. Knowledge is accelerated.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people sometimes are like, well, what's the real 3D benefit? What's the ROI of these trips and, in the retreats that we hold? When you step more into yourself, when you are activating, remembering, you come into this calmer place seated in the body. And that's just like, I'm getting the image.
Yeah.
Right? The soul is like calmly sitting inside the body. You don't sweat the small stuff as much because you realize, oh my goodness, there is just so much more to this world, to my soul, to myself, so many different aspects. And when you understand that this lifetime is such a small little grain of salt, you want to appreciate it actually more, even though it's small, but appreciate it. Okay, there is an absolute reason why you chose to embody Laura, why your soul came down here for this, why I chose to embody Abby and use this avatar. So that's the purpose of going into these spaces and finding community and doing the meditations and awakening within. Is you get through the day a lot easier, and you learn to be more playful and enjoy this beautiful planet more.
I know we have the best looking planet. I keep saying that. We look out there and we got the best looking one. And when we look at the cosmos, I think. But you mentioned something important here, sweating the small stuff, right? We all get so trapped into the small stuff. And this is by design. If you look at the small stuff you're sweating right now, what does it mean 6 months from now or tomorrow, right? Nothing. So this small stuff creates these tethers and these anchor points in time that keeps us stagnant, that does not allow our energy to flow with the universal oneness. And when we can escape and realize, and it's some, it doesn't mean that you just shove your bills under the rug. You got to deal with the stuff. But I'm talking about the nonsensical small stuff that creates so much anxiety in everybody all around us. And, you guys, everybody out there, like, what is your small stuff? In the big picture of life, does it matter? And these are not this anxiety epidemic, I think, is a technology that is used to basically, it's a form of electrocution of the soul to keep us anchored here. So stop sweating the small stuff and just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting closer and closer and closer all the time to a full awakening. And I do believe in the anxiety epidemic is the truth.
Yeah.
It's all of this is a simulation on purpose to keep us from fully embodying the soul body experience. Because when we are in that space and we understand, oh, time isn't linear and I can be playful and manipulate this, and we don't need them anymore.
No, we never have, right? And part of the issue is, and I kind of like, I get on the light side quite a bit on this one. It's like, why are we forced to not remember certain elements when we have these parasites trying to attach to us all the time? What the heck, right? And I do know that when I'm working with my guides and teams, and I don't like to use the term galactic council because I feel like it's a dime a dozen. It's like, whatever. But I do work with these light beings that are rather significant, and they are looking at rewriting certain spiritual laws to give us more jurisdiction while we're here. This is a big deal because before, I wouldn't be able to do such and such, but now they're like, yeah, that makes sense why you should be able to do this because it frees up, these stuck souls. It frees up this, it removes these entities. So I do know the light side is changing, and they're looking at our concept of time also to give us our power back.
Yeah. I'm just remembering as you're speaking, something that I text you in that original thing about time. We are getting really, really close again to where in the past they would reset us.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the war on time. Is we're battling out to not be reset again.
This Earth has had several planetary resets. Atlantis 1, 2, Lemuria, those are the big ones, but there's been several planetary resets, and we have to own our power. So they are not allowed to do that to us anymore. And because these resets keep us stuck here.
Yeah. You can go even the Grand Canyon and driving around the ridge, you can see the buildings that used to be there. And I was there with my family, and I told my husband, I said, it's like somebody just came and just poured mud right on top of all of it's. Yeah. So when you can see, there's a reason why you can't even go to half of the Grand Canyon.
Right. Exactly. One of my favorite places is Monument Valley, because the first time I drove through there, I could see the buildings. I could see the library. I could see what would be considered like an airport type of thing. And it was like, whoa, that was huge. I could see inside the buildings too. It was like I was being teleported back. So there's all these places around the world that have these structures, and those are resets. Those are planetary resets being buried so we don't remember. But our souls remember. And when we look at our subconscious self as the recorder aspect of us, right? It reminds us to, keep breathing, the heart going, but our subconscious self is also what puts our soul's information into the Akashic records. And a lot of people call it cording. I call it Aka cords because these cords connect us to the Akashic records, the records of our soul. And so our soul has all these memories. We just don't have them while we're in these limited bodies. And when we can remember that and go into those Akashic records properly, not, and if you hire anybody to go through those Akashic records with you, make sure they're of substance, because you don't need any false information sent your way. But it can really be a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing too that the Akashics you are able within the Akashics to go and view any life that has been experienced.
Yes.
And you can pull snippets out of that if it will help you, because the main purpose of a soul to leave source and to embody, to have a physical embodiment, is the expansion. It's the expansion of knowledge. It's the expansion of light. And so when you are in those realms, there isn't, well, that's mine and that was hers. And it's all, it's all there.
Yep.
And so, that's why I love the comment that people are like, well, how could there be 40 people that remember a lifetime claiming they were Cleopatra, right?
Right.
So a lot of people say, so it's all fake. Well, no, maybe those 40 people pulled in an aspect of
that lifetime.
And it would still feel as though that person had lived it.
Right. Right.
But even though it's just a memory, a recording, like in the movie Matrix, when they hooked into the back of Neo and they downloaded, all of the fighting capabilities, it's very similar to the Akashics, how we can download aspects and download pieces to help on a mission, help on a soul purpose. Because again, the ultimate goal is a collective expansion.
Absolutely. And, thank you for this. I mean, you texted me that and I was like, oh yeah, we really got to talk about this.
Well, it was just a room and everything makes sense. And it feels like, all right, now we're in the next place. Now it has been a spiritual war. Oh shoot. Now this is all about time. And oh my goodness, we're getting a lot closer to a reset. And it feels as though there's no fear, no anxiety. So in nowhere but the words I'm saying to induce that, but it does feel as we're coming up to a wall. Like it's
time. The light side will not choose a side for us. We have to choose a side, right? The light side's not going to choose a side. But if I'm sitting on the sidelines waiting for something to happen, the dark side's going to come through and choose for me. They don't care. They don't care about violating these spiritual laws, but the light side cannot do that. So when we're thinking about these timelines, look at that, make a choice, make a decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And declare it strongly, declare it boldly. That no voice is too small. There's, so many people will say, well, I'm not Laura. I don't have her strength and I don't have her show. And I, don't. No, absolutely not. You can.
We are all, I say it all the time. We're all pieces to the puzzle and we are here to work together. And, if everybody were the same, we'd be robots, right? I mean, that's not much different than, the Borg in Star Trek, which kind of looks a lot like the Archons and the reptilians, right?
Yeah.
So just, we have to know that we have our own personal power. We need to learn how to sit in it. We need to learn how to expand it. And we need to understand that everything we do does echo out. Yeah. And we're not here to live a perfect life, but we're here to live mindful lives, working on creating a better collective consciousness energy also.
It was probably about a year and a half ago. My guides came in very clearly and gave me an image. And they said to me, it is time that you greatly expand your light, your auric field as to where you've been at now. And they showed all these golden rings coming out, right? And it was like boom, 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 boom. But outside of that golden ring, then that went into another golden ring and that went into another golden ring here. And the ripples became ripples.
Yeah.
So it's not just one solitary room of like just one big bubble, but it's like a ripple created another ripple. And to be passing and moving. And I don't know why. I feel like somehow by doing that, it can help alchemize further energies out there. I don't know why.
It does. Energy never stops. And, think about, let's just bring it back down to the 3D. If I throw a bunch of rocks and pebbles into a lake, we can watch those concentric circles echo out and we can watch other ones collide into them. And, some people will, drop a boulder of energy down and other people just a small pebble and they'd still mix even though the boulder is way heavier and can, I'm going to say, annihilate the little one, but the little one energy that still echoes out. That's a finer thread, and sometimes those fine threads are really important.
Yeah. The smallest little waves can sometimes travel the farthest.
Yeah. And they they don't perceive to be threatening. And so they get ignored a lot, right? So just living our truth, living in a space of understanding that, yes, we are here, we are bound by time, space, and gravity, but the time aspect is fluid.
Yeah. Yeah.
The physicality of this pen, we say that it's solid, but yet there's all these atoms that make this pen up. And in between these spaces, there's space. Yeah. So learning how to work with, manage, manipulate. When I say manipulate time, I don't want it to sound negative.
Yeah. Same. I know. I use the word manipulate too. Yeah. I'm not trying to do
Shifting.
That in an ego place.
Shifting the things. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And basically the work we do is shifting energy, right? To clean and clear and help others process and release and stuff. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
Yes. Thank you for having me on. This is good to discuss. I pulled a card. I don't know why I like to fidget with cards when I'm on, and it's the Ancient Stones, and a soul agreement came up.
Oh, how timely.
I know, soul agreement, soul mission, soul plan, life purpose. And if you guys can see, look at the background. Doesn't that kind of look like Grand Canyon? All those.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. There's no accidents, right?
No.
That's the other thing about time. There's no accidents.
I am fully convinced that these cards are all blank on the other side, and they only manifest into the picture when I turn them over. There's no other way to explain how it works when you are pulling cards.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, they just manifest exactly what they need to be.
Well, I think we had a soul agreement to do this today.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Abby. Awesome.
And if anybody is interested in doing Scotland with Laura and I am going to say Scotland is part 1. Laura and I are also doing France the following year, and that will be looked at as a part 2, continuing in that divine feminine, that Magdalene line. But you can go to leylinetravel.com and you can book now. Get your seats held. We're halfway filled up right now. So yeah. I love your company name too, Leyline, Leyline travel, because a ley line is part of the Earth's magnetic grid. It's what the animals use to migrate with, and it does so much more for us. So I love your name, Leyline Travel. Go check it out. I'm super excited and honored to be a part of that process because it's going to be phenomenal. It is fantastic when these are smaller groups, right? So we keep to 20 people. So when everyone's coming in and our energies are aligning, and the what we uncover, what we discover when we come into those lands, I look at, someone asked me once, how do I view ley lines? What do they feel like to me? And they feel to me as it's the planet's nervous system. Mm-hmm. It's where the brain sends messages along the nervous system. And so the ley line feels to me that's where the messaging are across the planet. And so many of our past brothers and sisters, current brothers and sisters, because just like you said with ghosts, when you tap in, they are still actively living within their own time plane. So I can go into a place just like Laura can go into the Yucatan and you saw the buildings and people were still living. That's how it is to me. So when I step into a zone and it feels like a hook, and I'm hooked up into that frequency, they're still fully living an active life. It's still existing, and I'm able to just stand there and view it like a movie playing in. And every so often, I'm able to get one to interact with me, and I can talk to somebody. So it's
pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's fantastic. Awesome. Yes. So come discover the magic with Laura and I.
Yes. And we always have fun. And we meet the best people, and the best people are always there. So the sense of community follows beyond the event too. And I do want to say that this trip is 100% all-inclusive. You don't have to worry about anything other than just arriving. Yeah. So.
Yep, absolutely. And we're going I went through Egypt with, his name is Maher Agag, and he has been doing sacred site tours for 30 years. So all of the logistics of our tour will be handled by his company, and he is a historian, an archaeologist, a geologist. I joke that he's a 400-year-old medicine man. So yes, he is there. So Laura and I will be sharing what we are picking up from the lands, the people with us, what they are picking up, and then Maher is there as the historian, say, well, this is what history. Then the conversation gets really interesting to see, well, they had that completely wrong. This is what actually happened there.
Say what?
Yeah, what? Yes. So, yes. And so Maher will be there organizing it all.
All right. Well, thank you for spending some time on time with me today, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Abby. All right.
Thanks, Laura.
Bye.